My name's David Ong, and I'm one of the solution specialists here at Redgate. Today, I'm going to be taking you through using SQL Clone to generate dedicated environments for our development team and making independent changes on either of the clones. So to start off with, let's take a look here at our DM database. And before we do anything further, we're just going to create a new stored procedure. Now, to do this, we're going to be leveraging our SQL prompt solution. And this allows us to use abbreviated code snippets to structure out coding and make database development a whole lot easier. So with this, just by adding CP, we've been able to create the stored procedure structure. And from here, we're going to create a new procedure, imaginatively titled new proc. And down here, we're just going to use SSF as an abbreviation for select start from. And if we press enter, this will populate out the rest of here and prompt us to select our desired table, which we're going to use our DM customer. If we expand out this wildcard here, we can very much see everything that's been selected. For the purpose of today's demo, though, we're going to leave this in place at present. So let's just execute that procedure and leave that against our DM database. So what we're going to do now is use SQL Clone. So this is the web-based interface here, and we're going to spin up two dedicated environments for our development team based on our DM database. So to start with, we're going to go into here and create an image. And this gives us the option to do this from either a backup or a live SQL Server instance. Today, we're going to be using the SQL Server version. And we're just going to select the location we're going to start with, including specifying that DM database that we've just made the change to. This is flagging up something from one of our sister tools here, SQL Data Catalog. This allows us to classify and tag data within our databases for compliance levels, sensitive data, PII. And as part of this, we've had the tags confidential, GDPR, and confidential applied against this table. So as we can see here, it's suggesting we apply a masking set before creating the image. This allows us to anonymize that data and remove the risk of any compliance breaches. If we continue to the next section, this allows us to drop in that masking set. Now, these can be created from scratch using our SQL Data Masker tool as part of SQL Provision with SQL Clone, or you can actually create these from the classifications you make in SQL Data Catalog. So let's just take a quick look here, and we're going to drop in this masking set at this point. So once this is created, this image and all clones created from it will now have completely anonymized data built into the process from the very beginning. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create an image here of the DM database. So this is effectively a virtual hard disk version of that database. It's going to take around about the same time it would take to run a backup of that database environment. And this will give us our source data for everything that we want to create the clones from. So it really is a snapshot of the moment in time of that database, but this is going to remain here. As we go on with SQL Clone, we can obviously specify permissions for our team using this, so they can either be able to create additional images of their own, or likewise, we could set it so that they can just come in and create new clones of these images to provision new environments. That's now fully created here. So we're going to open the clone wizard over here and find that image. So here is our masked image. We don't want to make any modifications at this point, and we are just going to make a new clone here called clone 1. What we're going to do while this is spinning up is we are going to just repeat that process, as you can see how quick that is this side. And we are going to create a second clone for our second developer. Whilst that process has been going, you can already see that's completed on there, and it's now completed clone number 2 as well. If we jump back over into SSMS and just refresh our environment list, what we'll be able to see is that SQL Clone has already created these clone databases in our listing here, clone 1 and clone 2. Just to touch on briefly the masking aspect again that we looked at, to show you here, if we look at our customer table in our standard database as it began. Line 8 was Selma Grismore. We had a South Carolina address, an email address that reflected Selma Grismore's name with contact details. If we now come down into one of our cloned environments and we look at that exact same table at this point, what we'll be able to see is that the static data masking has occurred and Fardu's Popaka has now replaced Selma Grismore, and we now have a UK address and an email address that reflects that source name as well. So all of this data now is fully compliant with any data regulation and allows us to work on that realistic production data without any risk in our lower environments. But what we've now got today is just going to make some changes to those stored procedures that we created. So to start with, let's just open up in our database number 1, and we're just going to modify this procedure at this point. So what we're going to do very simply is take out our customer first name column and execute that from there. And if we come down into our second column, second clone database, sorry, we can modify this and we could take out, say, the company name. Now, if we run these procedures here, so first let's execute line 1, database number 1. What we've got here, we can see we edited the customer first name column and removed that from our stored procedure, so that's no longer being displayed on this side. Likewise, if we now execute stored procedure on clone number 2, what we can see is we took out the company name address at this point. That no longer appears here either. So both of these databases are entirely independent of each other, referencing back to that image, but allowing for independent change to both clones 1 and 2, ensuring that our development team can work entirely independently and allow for the best creative workflow processes that we need. If you have any more questions, please do let us know. Thank you very much.